Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all mummies and daddies. My name is Dr. Zarina from Clinic Family Gravidities, and today I'm going to talk to you about the basic of breastfeeding and what can you do to start breastfeeding successfully right after birth. My name is Dr. Zarina from Clinic Family Gravidities. I am your family doctor and also a certified lactation counselor. I do lots of breastfeeding consultations in my clinic, and I teach breastfeeding to all mothers who needs to learn about it. And today I'm going to talk to you about the basic of breastfeeding and what can you do to start breastfeeding successfully right after birth. Now, what is breastfeeding? Breastfeeding is the best way to give your baby the best nutrition in the world. It's the gold standard of nutrition for your baby, and breastfeeding is not just giving breast milk, but it's more than that. Breastfeeding, it makes you connect to your baby right after birth because your baby has been with you for the past 9 months in the womb. So how do they connect with you outside in the world? Is through breastfeeding. Baby feeding is a learned art where you will learn a little bit of science and understand the basic of the physiology of breastfeeding behind it, and we need to have a lot of patience to do breastfeeding. But it has a lot of benefits for the baby, for the mommy, for the daddy, for everyone. So let's learn what breastfeeding gives to baby and moms. Now, how do you get breastfeeding off to a good start? Firstly, is by learning breastfeeding through classes and reading books. And it is not just you, it's your partner also. So once you know what is breastfeeding all about, you have the good knowledge about breastfeeding, then you will need to give your full commitment to breastfeed. So this is what you should do now during pregnancy. Secondly, what should you do in the hospital after the birth? So you should know what to do to make sure that the breastfeeding runs smoothly after birth. And thirdly, how can you maintain the breastfeeding after birth and throughout the confinement and when you have started work? So this is how we want to make sure that the breastfeeding is successfully throughout the period of 2 years. So how long do you need to breastfeed? Now, the WHO and also the national policy has stated that breastfeeding should be given as much as you can, and it is only giving breast milk to your baby for the first 6 months of life, and to continue breastfeeding while baby have started to eat solids at 6 months until 2 years old. Okay, so we need to breastfeed at least for 2 years to ensure that the baby gets optimum benefit from breastfeeding. What is the benefit of breastfeeding? For the baby, number one, it gives a very good IQ to your baby, to the asthmatic babies actually. Number two, they have fewer chest infections, gut infections, less diarrhea, okay, because the breast milk contains a lot of antibodies which will protect them from any infections. Thirdly, they have better vision and they have less incidence of the ear infection. Next is they have better dental alignments because with the breast, with the nipples, they don't have any problems with the development of the gums. Apart from that, breast milk doesn't cause constipation. So usually the poo of the baby is usually runny, so they won't have any problems with digestion. Breastfeeding babies have leaner bodies, and when they grow up into a toddler or even a teenager, they have less risk of getting diabetes, of getting obesity, or even hypertension, and they have better immune and healthier growth throughout their life. And usually they have less risk of getting eczema. And also a research says that breastfeeding reduces the risk of autism in these children. What are the benefits of breastfeeding to mothers? Okay, firstly, after birth, when you breastfeed, the oxytocin that comes out during breastfeeding will actually help to contract the uterus and produces less bleeding for you. Number 2, it strengthens the mom and baby bonding. Yeah, because this is the way for you to connect with your baby during breastfeeding and skin-to-skin contact. It produces relaxation between mother and baby, and it reduces the risk of depression or postpartum blues for mothers during confinement. So this is actually a very important aspect of breastfeeding. For the next 2 years of breastfeeding, mothers will experience loss of weight slowly but surely. And for those mothers who breastfeed fully for the first 6 months without any menses, this is actually one way to protect yourself from getting pregnant again. It's a natural contraception. In the long run, mothers have less risk to get breast cancer or ovarian cancer from breastfeeding. And for fathers, what are the benefits for fathers? Of course, with breastfeeding, you can save a lot of time and money, okay? Because breastfeeding is free, it can be done anytime, anywhere. Before we proceed, let's talk about the breast. Now, the breast is the organ that makes the breast milk. Now, it's very important for the mother to have a very good nipple and the areola. And the whole breast is actually where the milk is being made, okay? So the nipple is actually where the stimulation starts from, and the stimulation from the nipple will travel to the mother's brain to release 2 important hormones, which is the oxytocin and the prolactin. Now, the oxytocin is the one that contracts the milk from the factories, okay? It runs down from the factory towards the duct in and then throughout the nipple to the baby. Okay, the prolactin is the hormone that makes new milk in the factory. So during pregnancy, the nipple and the areola become darkened. So this is where the baby actually used as a target to breastfeed. Now, don't worry, when you are pregnant, the breast milk actually is being made since 4 months or 16 weeks pregnancy. Okay, so when you have given birth, you will already have your colostrum ready in your breast. So what is the colostrum? The colostrum is actually a very little amount of breast milk that is being produced from 16 weeks until the day you give birth, and it will continue to be released until the 2 weeks of life of the baby. So colostrum basically contains a lot of immunoglobulin that protects the baby's intestines and gives much immune protection to the baby. And the colostrum, as it is a very little amount, very sticky, and just like honey, so the baby needs to suck from the mother's breast in order to receive the colostrum. After 2 weeks, your milk changes into the mature milk, and this mature milk consists of the foremilk and the hindmilk. The foremilk usually contains a lot of water, whereas the hindmilk contains a lot of fat, protein, and other calories, which is important for the growth of the baby. So the amount of the breast milk actually increases with time, from droplets of colostrum to as much as 3 to 4 ounces of milk after a month of confinement. It is said that a healthy infant should be placed on the mother's chest for at least 1 hour after birth until the breastfeeding is established. This is because the baby has a reflex called the stepping reflex and the crawling reflex and the suckling reflex to help the baby crawl to your breast and do the first latch. So let's look at this video which shows the breast crawl that happens in a newborn. So did you see the baby crawl to the mother's breast? It is actually the first latch that happens, and when the baby gets the first latch, this is going to ensure a successful breastfeeding after that. And because baby need a gentle transition from the womb to the world, the skin to skin gives everything to connect the baby to the world slowly with the mother. Skin to skin have a lot of benefits for both mother and baby. So please do request from your obstetrician to do a skin to skin right after birth at least for 1 hour to ensure that you get the bonding and the breastfeeding is successful. Now, let's learn about the latching and the positioning of breastfeeding. Firstly, you must ask yourself whether are you comfortable? Are you in the right position to breastfeed your baby? So it's all about the comfort of the mother before you start to breastfeed. And there are a few ways for you to hold your baby. Now let's look at this diagram. The right way to hold a baby is, number one, you need to make sure that the baby is close to your body. Number two, the baby should be facing your body as well. The whole body must turn and lie in one line, and mother must hold the baby confidently. Now, there are a few positions of breastfeeding that you can choose to breastfeed, but for the best during confinement is usually the laid back breastfeeding. Now, laid back is by just doing this. When you lie down on your bed, about 45 degrees with the pillow behind to support your back, just put the baby on your chest and let the baby drink from your breast like this, in this position, whereby the gravity is holding baby on top of your chest. The next best position for breastfeeding is actually the cross cradle. Number one, you need to actually put the baby with your arms, tuck the baby under your arms like this, and hold the baby's head with your hands and breastfeed on the opposite side. So this is the right way to start off breastfeeding when you're holding the baby to ensure a good latch. Once you are more confident, you can try the other positions. This is what we call the cradle hold. Okay, so once you have actually done the cross cradle and you are more confident, so you can just make sure that baby is latched properly and just change your hands and continue to breastfeed in this position. This is what we call the cradle hold. Now, the next position is the football position. The football position can be utilized by mothers who have cesarean section or those who have twins to breastfeed both sides. So what you do is you tuck the baby under your arm and breastfeed on the same side. And the last but not least position is the lie down position, and this is my most favorite position during confinement. So you can learn to breastfeed while lying down when you are in the hospital. Ask the staff nurse to help you before you go back from the hospital to help you breastfeed while lying down. How do you latch on a baby? Now, latching on is quite tricky, but you can learn. So I am going to show a short video on how to latch on. Number one, I would like to tell you that a good latch doesn't cause any pain. So a good latch ensures that the nipple goes back to the throat of the baby and the baby is suckling in a good position, and the breastfeeding should be very comfortable. So please watch this video.
Bring the baby's nose directly opposite the nipple. Let his head tip back a little so his top lip can brush against your nipple. This should make him open his mouth. When his mouth is wide open, he will take the breast with his head back and chin leading. The baby can then take in a large mouthful of breast, not just the nipple. The breast will be drawn deep into his mouth, so your nipple will go all the way back to the soft part of his mouth, and you won't get sore. So, once your baby's head has tipped back, your nipple will brush his top lip. Wait for the wide gape. Then bring your baby to the breast, chin leading. In this position, feeding will be comfortable and your baby will be able to take all the milk he needs.
So long as you've got your position and attachment right, it should be like that. It should be nice and relaxed and enjoyable.
Signs of a poor latch is usually number 1, pain during breastfeeding. Number 2, baby is not getting enough milk. Number 3, very bad sore or cracked nipple. So please get help once you have all these symptoms that shows that you have a very poor latch and you need help to assist you to correct the position and latching with your baby. In this diagram, I would like to highlight to you that a newborn baby's stomach is actually very small. It is the size of a cherry, so at one feeding, baby actually need only about 5 to 10 mils of breast milk at one time. And the stomach size increases with time. So does the breast milk volume. So you don't need to give baby a lot of milk on the first few days. Just your breast milk and the colostrum is enough to give baby all the nutrients that the baby needs. So please be confident with yourself that you have enough breast milk for your baby from day 1 until the end of 2 years. And the breast milk actually changes with time. It also changes with the baby's needs. I would like to show you how can you do breast massage and hand express, which is very important to be used during the confinement days, especially the first 2 weeks where you are producing your colostrum. Now, this is how you massage your breast. Okay, move around your fingers all around the breast. Circular motions. All right, number 2, stroke towards the nipple line. Okay, number 3, go around the areola and press down. Place your fingers down to support your breast, the index finger and the thumb at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Okay, push against the chest wall, compress and release. Push against the chest wall, compress and release. This is how you can use to express your colostrum. Do not use breast pump to express your colostrum, but use your hands. You can collect the colostrum with a spoon or a cup and feed your baby with it. One more important thing about breastfeeding is to never introduce bottle to your baby from day 1 until they are about 3 or 4 weeks of life. This is to prevent nipple confusion in the baby. As much as I want to highlight the benefit of breastfeeding, it is no doubt that mothers would face a lot of problems throughout their journey of breastfeeding. Now, what are the common problems that mothers can face during the confinement? Number 1, you might have breast engorgement. Breast engorgement is actually a feeling of fullness of milk inside your breast. This usually happens at 2 weeks of confinement, whereby the milk has been made a lot and it is made continuously for the usage of the baby. So number 2, if the breast engorgement is not being addressed, then you might get breast blocked duct or plugged ducts, that can lead to blockage and lead to reduce of milk supply. And if this blocked duct is not being addressed, it will lead to mastitis and eventually breast abscess. So the key to prevent all these complications is number 1, do the correct latch. Number 2, do the correct positioning. Number 3, always empty your breast regularly and frequently by giving direct breastfeeding to baby or expressing your milk when the baby is not with you. And next is to get help whenever you have problems. Never wait until it's a bit too late to get help. There are a lot of lactation counselors out there to help you, and if you are in Wang Samaju, you can always come to me at my clinic to help you. My take-home message for this breastfeeding lecture is Number one, ensure that you have the adequate knowledge for you to prepare yourself for the breastfeeding. Number two, to get the support of your husband and your family members so that they understand that you want to breastfeed, and make sure that they help you out throughout the breastfeeding journey. Number three is to keep your commitment to breastfeed until the baby is 2 years old. And number four, always get help as soon as possible if you encounter any problems with breastfeeding. With that, I would like to thank you very much for hearing this lecture on breastfeeding. I wish you all the best in breastfeeding, and may breastfeeding connects you and your baby, and may you be successful in breastfeeding from the moment you give birth until the baby reaches 2 years old. With that, I am Dr. Zarina Rahman from Clinic Family Gravidities, wishing you all the best, and goodbye.